From Amateur Radio Newsline Report number 1957, these are the Ham Nation headlines for Wednesday, March 25, 2015. Another big surprise from sunspot AR2297 as it hurls a massive solar flare towards the Earth. March 15th began with a solar bang. Between 0045 and 0200 UTC, a magnetic filament erupted in concert with a slow C9 class solar flare from sunspot AR2297 that hurled a coronal mass ejection, or CME, into space. At that time, modeling by analysts suggested that the cloud would deliver a glancing blow to Earth's magnetic field during the late hours of March 17th. They also estimated there will be a 50% chance of geomagnetic storms when the CME arrived. But they were in for quite a surprise. A severe storm smacked Earth with a surprisingly big geomagnetic jolt on Tuesday, March 17th. Two blasts of magnetic plasma that left the sun separately combined and arrived on Earth about 15 hours earlier and much stronger than expected. Forecasters figured it would come late Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. Instead, it arrived just before 10 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The storm ranked a 4 on the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration's 1 to 5 scale for geomagnetic effects. It's the strongest solar storm to blast Earth since the fall of 2013. It's been nearly a decade since a level 5 storm termed extreme has hit the Earth. It had forecast to arrive at a level 1. Packing winds of close to 200 miles per hour, Category 5 Cyclone Pam caused severe damage when it hit the Pacific nation of Vanuatu on March 13th. Vanuatu's government declared a nationwide state of emergency, and Australia and New Zealand were among the first to send in relief supplies. The cyclone tore apart the infrastructure on Vanuatu's 12 inhabited islands and all but isolated it from the world. And as far as we've been able to determine, this was a case where not even amateur radio could fill in the communications gap, mainly because there are very few resident hams living there, nor does there seem to be an established emergency calling frequency on any of the amateur bands. About the closest thing to a ham radio response frequency might be the Pacific Maritime Net on 14.300 megahertz, but what assistance, if any, was provided by this group is unknown as we go to air. Nor is it known if the non-ham radio Vanuatu Net, which operates daily at 2030 UTC during cruising season on 8.230 megahertz, was activated. The restoration of communications with Vanuatu required first responders from other nations arriving with their own communications gear, primarily satellite phones. It was only then that the full extent of the devastation that Cyclone Pam caused to Vanuatu was made known to the world. Amateur radio likes to claim that it's there when all other means of communications have failed. But in this case, there simply were no hams on Vanuatu to respond. Colorado Governor John Hickenlooper has signed into law an amateur radio antenna bill that mirrors the PRB1 federal preemption policy. Hickenlooper put his signature on the measure on March 13th after the Colorado General Assembly, without amendment, passed Senate Bill 15-041, which had been introduced in early January. Bill 15-041 specifies that no local government shall enact or enforce an ordinance or resolution regulating amateur radio antennas that fails to conform with PRB1's reasonable accommodation provisions. This measure was jointly sponsored by Colorado Senator Chris Holbert and Representative Kevin Van Winkle. According to Colorado Section Manager Jack Ciaccia, WM0G, this was truly a bipartisan bill with terrific support from both sides of the aisle in both legislative chambers. Wireless energy generation from space is now one small step closer to becoming a feasible delivery source of power. Here's Amateur Radio Newsline Stephen Kinford, N8WB.
The Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, also known as JAXA, conducted the research, which sent 1.8 kilowatts of electricity 170 feet through the air in the form of microwave radiation. The beam was transmitted with a great degree of accuracy, showing the technique may be used on a larger scale. Engineers at JAXA have spent years researching new technologies to enable the delivery of energy from space-based solar collectors down to our home planet. Solar cells commonly power satellites, space probes, and the International Space Station. However, delivering that power to Earth in an economical manner is still a challenge facing developers. Now researchers say that the sun's energy might one day be collected by massive solar panels in space, and the energy generated from the systems could be sent to Earth in the form of highly directional microwaves.
Engineers believe that a full network to generate electricity in space will not be available until sometime in the 2040s. Finally, there's a new YouthNet on HF. Justin Gilder, AC8PI, has announced the creation of a new high-frequency YouthNet. Its purpose is to serve as a meeting place for young hams on the HF bands and to provide short contacts between those who have checked in. Listen out for it on 20 meters between 14,320 and 14,330 megahertz on Sunday afternoon between 1800 and 1900 UTC. That's between 2 and 3 p.m. Eastern Time. And that's all from the Amateur Radio Newsline, your independent source for amateur radio news for over 37 years and counting at www.arnewsline.org. For Stephen Kinford, N8WB, I'm Don Wilbanks, AE5DW73. We'll see you next time here on Ham Nation.